Phelps, who is the current president of the Society of Neuroeconomics, to tell us what neuroeconomics is.
Oh, I'm going to defer to the founding president of neuroeconomics, because I think Paul has been instrumental in pushing this field forward, and I'm sort of riding on his coattails a little bit.
I'm going to defer to Danny, who's not here. No. So I'll tell you my personal answer, and I think it's not everyone's answer. I was trained as a neurophysiologist. I learned how to study the activity of single nerve cells in humans and animals making decisions. I learned how to use brain scanners on people and animals. And what I was interested in was decision making, how you pick a wife, how you pick an ice cream flavor. And that seemed to be a reasonable thing for a neurobiologist to study, but it became clear that first off, neurobiologists were ill-equipped, theoretically, to think about that problem. They really were engineers who built wiring diagrams and did not think deeply about mental life, psychological processes, or predictions of optimality theory. And this led me first to psychology, to think about mental life and mental experience, and I realized over the course of many years, and became eventually a professor in that department as well, that you had to combine the insights of psychology, the experimental insights of how people actually behave, if you were with neuroscientific methods, if you were going to develop any comprehensive description of human behavior. Now, that's not too surprising. As I learned more and became driven to sort of understand everyone who had thought about decision-making, it became clear to me that there actually was, at NYU, there's actually a department of decision-making, and that department was called the economics department. And that drove me over many years to try and synthesize into my own view the economic approach, which is really, I think, finally about specifying what people ought to do. Psychology is sort of empirically what they do, and neuroscience is how does the hardware achieve what they do, and can it explain the gaps between what they should do and what they do. So for me, neuroeconomics is the synthesis of at least these three disciplines, and its goal really is to adjudicate the gap between economic theory, which tells us so clearly now what an efficient chooser, an efficient person would do, and psychological observation, which tells us people don't do that. And there's a hole there because economics is this spectacular theoretical device that works very well in large groups and works, with apologies, quite poorly with regard to large chunks of individual behavior. Psychology is a good descriptive tool, but it really, at this moment, lacks any coherent, sweeping theoretical view. So you get this problem. Psychologists can tell us what's wrong with economic theory. Economists can tell us what people ought to do, but you don't have a theory of what people do. And it's my hope that neuroscience will fill that gap, and that these three disciplines together will create an algorithmic or mechanistic model of human behavior, which will be able to unite all three levels. And I think that the grand unifying excitement of that, the reason there's so much excitement around neuroeconomics today, at least in my mind, is because that would be a synthesis very different from the one that occurred between molecular biology and biology in the 50s, or between physics and chemistry at the turn of the 1900s. It would actually be a fusion across the border of the social and natural sciences. It would suggest that the kinds of grand unities we see throughout the natural sciences will progress ultimately to the social sciences as well.